Hi, this is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores. I analyze car wrecks every day. Unfortunately, there are those that don't carry insurance, and guess what? You've got to pay. Make sure you have uninsured motorist and underinsured coverage for your automobile. Make sure that you have enough insurance in case of this phenomenon. 361-887-8670.
Welcome to South Texas Now, featuring attorney Joe A. Flores from the Flores Law Firm. He grew up right here in the Coastal Bend and became a physician's assistant, fell in love with the law, and became a lawyer. Each broadcast of South Texas Now brings you unique interviews with some of the voices that make a difference right here in South Texas. Now please enjoy this episode of South Texas Now.
Hi, this is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores, host of Legal Minute Clinic. Remember, you need a will, you need something to speak for you if you become disabled or if you pass away. You need limited power of attorney, durable medical power of attorney, health care power of attorney, and much more. Maybe even a trust. Give us a call, 361-887-8670, Flores Law Firm. Remember, we care about you. Hi, this is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores, inviting you to join us each and every week right here on South Texas Now. I want to talk about something that just impacted me this week, but also impacted not only the person accused, but their family, their community, and everyone else on two sides of a country, and we're talking about immigration. I get it. There are people out there right now that are suffering in this economy. There are people, whether black, brown, or white, that are saying the American dream that they've promised us is no longer. There are people that feel that they have been sold a bag of goods. So we're going to talk about that and immigration a little bit, and I'd like to talk on a even playing field where everybody gets it, no legalese. A guy lives here for 20 years. He came over with a medical emergency. His wife was going to lose a child, and he came over in extenuating circumstances. Meanwhile, back home, his family have been killed by the cartel, blackmailed, or kidnapped. What happens in those extenuating circumstances is you can provide concrete evidence of that. You may be able, that person may be able to get a U visa or something where they're feeling like threatened for their life, objectively. Believe me, I've been in the system, in the federal system for a long time. So I know, I've heard it all. They're going to kill me when I get back home. It's a war zone. I want to stay here. Well, of course everybody wants to stay here. In comparison, if you haven't traveled outside the country, this is paradise, even for $4 a gallon of gas. And so we want to get to the heart of the matter and say this. If you are in this country and you are afraid right now because your status may be questionable, or you're afraid that they're going to take away your resident alien status or your work visa, keep in mind that there are several factors that the government looks at. Do you have any priors, whether they be misdemeanors or felonies? Violent crimes, well, I mean, that's a whole different kettle of fish. You may be subject to deportation. Now, Mexico is our greatest trading partner, so it gets complicated. Mexico outdoes EU and everyone else who trades with us. We've been partners for a long time. So it's not like Madam President Scheinbaum and our President Trump can turn their backs on each other. We've got to work together. But we've also got to keep in mind that when we're talking about immigration, that we can't just look at one news source. I would strongly recommend that you look at, and I know it's going to hurt, either the very conservative or the very liberal, and then the medium side of things, and then make your own educated decisions. It all can't be fake news. There's great journalists out there, but modern journalism has changed. Now we have bloggers that are instant journalists. So what is the truth? Taking our example with the guy who got picked up, he had his own business. He paid taxes. He supported a family. Half of the family are legal, and the other half are, well, undocumented. And for those who just want to cut to the chase, illegally here. So what to do? We've vilified ICE, and justifiably so in some circumstances. Some people feel that it's an occupied country right now. But I want you all to remember that there is help. And you can give us a call, 361-887-8670, or just email me at info at floreslawfirm.com. These are real examples. Anytime somebody gets picked up, it's not just them that suffer, it's their family. It's their community. It's the people that they impact. And we do need diversity in our country. Yes, we do. Because if we don't have that, we're losing out on some of the greatest minds that can contribute to America. My name is Joe Flores. I'm proud to be an American, and I'm also proud to bring out this message and let everybody know that you've got to see it, not just from one side, but see it from other sides, because someday, who knows what can happen, and we may be the refugees. I hope that day never comes. Happy 250th. Thank you, and God bless.
Hi, this is nurse practitioner and attorney Joe Flores reminding you that there are mixed messages right now about the use of marijuana. In some states it is legal, in some states it is not. Be advised that gummies or chewables that are crossing state lines may be violating federal law. If you or a loved one you know are in trouble for bringing over edibles or any type of marijuana like that, call me. Hi, this is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores, and I want to remind you that not only carrying insurance for your vehicle is important, but what if you're hit by a commercial vehicle? I'm talking 18-wheelers. I'm talking about delivery trucks. You need to know your rights and get every penny you deserve. Call 361-887-8670, 361-887-8670. The law offices of Joe Flores handles very serious accidents. Call me.
And we're back after a brief break. You're watching South Texas Now. I know you guys get tired of hearing me sometimes. I've been coming out on TV for over 20 years, but it's because I do care. No one gives us sponsorship. We pay for our own, and everybody else who supports us, all of the stations, KRIS, KZTV, Telemundo, and Lopez Broadcasting, plus all the social media platforms. So let's cut to the chase. We're talking about mass incarceration, the prison industrial complexes. A lot of people say, look, you made a mistake, you're going to have to pay for it, and you're going to jail. Well, our view is a little bit different than the rest of the world. We incarcerate people at twice the rate of other countries that are even close to what we do. We don't certainly coddle our criminals, especially violent criminals. And I tend to agree, even when I do my defense counsel role, that I'm going to say what nobody else says. Half the time they just straight up did it, and you're just mitigating damages. But let's talk about a certain, it's a franchise now, basically, of where it says that the police investigate crime and district attorneys who prosecute the offenders, but you never hear, or they categorize defense attorneys as people that are selling their soul, they're defending the undefendable, and that's not necessarily true. Those that have been in the crosshairs of the government know that it is tough. And when you get incarcerated, it used to be a generation ago, our parents would say, leave him in jail for the weekend, teach him a lesson. All you're going to learn in that lesson is a third gang members, a third mentally ill, and then maybe a third that are in between or scared like a rabbit being in there and they want out. You're not going to learn anything in jail other than to be a better criminal. So we need to understand the complexity of the prison industrial complex. Because we're locking up prisoners at a higher rate, we make a lot of money. People who do that, some of them are even on the stock market. They've gone public because it's a private deal. The government has subbed out things. And I think when you privatize prisons, there's less of an incentive for rehabilitation. There's less of an incentive to give good, decent medical care, the basics. We're not talking about Mayo Clinic here. And also at least decent food and protection of those that are the most vulnerable. Older inmates, younger inmates that are just getting in there. And then the sentences people are giving out. The other day I was witness to a district judge who listened to evidence about a guy who pulled out a gun on somebody, and that's aggravated assault, straight up in Texas. You point a gun at somebody with intent to shoot. I mean, it could even be attempted murder, but here it was just, and even brandishing a gun, showing your gun to somebody is brandishing. That's even a hard misdemeanor. In other words, like my daddy used to say, if you're going to use a gun and show it off, you better be able to back it up. Just like a wad of cash. You show money, you better be able to protect it. And, nothing's changed since my dad was around in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, coming up. And he was right about a lot of things. Funny how parents get smarter as we get older. But as far as the prison industrial complex, we talk about child labor and abuse. Well, prisoners are working for under $1 an hour and doing the work almost like a plantation type atmosphere, almost a slave type atmosphere. And when we've got to really think hard about, do we want privatization of prisons? Right now we lock up people more than anyone on the planet. We're the biggest population of people that are locked up. 25% of the world's prisoners, but we're only 5%. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. I'm going to talk about why that is. And I want you all to stay tuned. This is attorney Joe Flores. I'm licensed here in the state of Texas and also take care of business in a federal level. And I've got my good friends I can associate with from Chicago to D.C. to L.A., so in all federal courts. So when I come back, let me give you my take on things.
Hi, this is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores. Public service message, underage drinking. If you are under 21, by law, you should not be drinking. If you are arrested while driving and you are allegedly under the influence, you need to call me. If you're the parent of somebody who was at a party and underage drinking, call me. In a college town like this, we need all the help we can get to defend your young one. Hi, this is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores. I analyze car wrecks every day. Unfortunately, there are those that don't carry insurance, and guess what? You've got to pay. Make sure you have uninsured motorist and underinsured coverage for your automobile. Make sure that you have enough insurance in case of this phenomenon. 361-887-8670.
Hi, I'm attorney Joe Flores. I want to talk to you about something very important, and that is industry. Accidents just don't happen, they're caused. We're talking about chemical explosions, burn cases, oil field accidents, and also trucking. If you or someone you know has been seriously injured, call me, 361-887-8670 for injuries, 361-887-8670, the law offices of Joe Flores.
Thanks for coming back and joining us. This is attorney and nurse practitioner Joe Flores, and I was talking about the prison industrial complex that has happened. There was the military industrial complex where, you always heard about hammers and toilet seats being sold for $600 by vendors to the government and all that good stuff. But no, people say there's a war on drugs. Well, a war ends. I don't think people want, certain people don't want the war to end. because that would put people out of work as prison guards. That would hurt stock shareholders that invest in private prisons. And I'm not being jaded here. I'm just telling you the unvarnished truth. When you have a private prison, like let's walk through the federal system. A private prison van brings guys that have been picked up, some for illegal entry, 1326 if they've done it before and they've come in, it's their second time. And then if they've got a jacket and they've got messed up when they got here, they're going to hammer them. The irony is we want them out, but they'll give them a nickel or 5 years or 3 years or whatever, and we feed them, house them, and then we spit them back out to go to their own country. But they've stayed here 3 years in prison, for example, and it's about $80 a day plus for 3 hots and a cot in the prison system. And starting from phone calls, if you buy these cards, that is a moneymaker, like $10, 10 minutes, maybe even more to get that. Commissary, there's also fees when you need your money. And that makes you a target as well. If you can't back it up or you're not street smart in jail and know the laws of the jungle, people will get your commissary, which is your money to buy snacks, things like that. So it is a jungle in there, just like in many parts of the country, it's a jungle out there. And we want to feel safe. That's what it comes down to. We want to feel safe. That's why we like our guns. That's why we are tribal, and we're tired. We're tired of America being poisoned by methamphetamine coming into the country. We're tired of people ODing in the streets, dying of fentanyl, of dying of other complications of drug use and alcohol use and everything else that people are addicted to. I throw stats around, but I back them up. And, one of the things is that we consume over half of the world's drugs, particularly cocaine, methamphetamine, close second. And people also use heroin when they started cutting off the painkillers in 2014. The family, who you may know, that owned a big painkiller company, made a lot of money, and now they just do it in third world and developing countries. But they had to pay a fine here. I always tell people the difference between healthcare providers who break the law, they're called criminals, and those who write a check are corporations and the very rich. And that's not coming from some left Libby thing. That's just the way it is, man. So when we're talking about private prisons, it's the same thing. Stockholders want their money, and it's gone public. And the more prison, and we're talking not just men. We're talking women. That's the faster rising population in prison. We're talking about children. We're talking about families that are being detained. People say, we want them out, they're the worst of the worst. We're finding out that the majority of these people don't have a record, is what I'm seeing, other than, yes, they broke the law coming into this country. That's their crime. But are we doing the punishment to fit the crime? We're keeping them here in this country, and the industrial complex doesn't want to deport them just yet. Several months of holding them, maybe even longer, and then they release them. But by then they've made a hefty little profit. And that's just the way it is. They're benefiting off of children incarceration, too. And what's the answer? Learning more about the prison system. Back when the war on drugs, quote-unquote war on drugs, war's end, so I don't think it's a war on drugs, but like I said, back in the Nixon days, you saw people fighting for their civil rights. Black and brown people became, change agents. And what happened? They became incarcerated more and more. And poor whites, too. Let's not leave them out. People that are disenfranchised by the system often get mangled and eaten up by the system. Like I said, district judge the other day saw a guy with a gun, as a threat, because he had already pointed a gun and was going to rob somebody or hurt them. And he said, I just think you're a threat. Now, the defense attorney put on that the guy had been abused since he was a kid. Factor one. Factor two, he grew up hard in a terrible environment. So he's trying to minimize and mitigate things. But he got 30 years just for a violation of his probation. And I think that's a waste. You're sending somebody away, especially on deferred adjudication. We'll talk about that in a moment. That is a hard pill to swallow. 5 years, 10 years for just having a gun in your waist belt, and you haven't learned your lesson and you're 19, maybe. 30 years I thought was excessive, but I'm not the judge. But we'll talk about all that when we come back. Stay tuned.
My name is Joe Flores. I'm a lawyer and a nurse practitioner. I was raised right here in South Texas and sold newspapers in Alice, Texas. As soon as I could, I started working in the hospital. Helping people has become a lifetime mission. I went to law school to help people even more. I understand medicine and I understand the law, and I will give your case the attention it deserves. Call me.
Hi, this is nurse practitioner and attorney Joe Flores reminding you that there are mixed messages right now about the use of marijuana. In some states it is legal, in some states it is not. Be advised that gummies or chewables that are crossing state lines may be violating federal law. If you or a loved one you know are in trouble for bringing over edibles or any type of marijuana like that, call me.
And we're back. We're talking about the prison industrial complex and about illegal entry into this country, but also about mass incarceration. They're all part of it. So we're talking about a 19-year-old that was a citizen of this country, and he grew up hard, didn't have a father figure. Fatherless people are becoming fathers, and they're not doing a great job of it because they never learned how to be a father. But also, they also are getting mangled up by the criminal justice system, much in part to their own fault. I get it. But there's an indiscriminate amount of discretion where sometimes people with money don't get locked up. Corporations certainly don't get locked up. Poor white, black, and brown people are being locked up like you wouldn't believe. When I go in there, I see people of all colors and stuff, and the commonality is they don't have any money. Whether you're in a state jail here in Texas or in the federal system throughout the land, it comes down to dollars, and that's the game. And I don't mean game funny haha. I mean that's the game, and you have to play beyond the game. You have to be an experienced lawyer. And so they give this guy 30 years. We were talking about 19-year-old who had a gun charge, pointed a gun at somebody before he was given a chance and put on deferred adjudication. Let me tell you, one great law professor of mine who sat on the Supreme Court, Charlie Baird, told me deferred adjudication is a sucker's bet. And I'll tell you what that means, not to be vulgar. But if you know that your guy is highly likely to reoffend, and he has a first-degree felony, 5 to 99 in Texas, for instance, you better make sure either he's going to walk the line and be a choir boy, or you better tell him take straight probation or take a jail sanction. And I'll tell you why. Because our example was this kid gets caught again with a gun in his waistband, and he was with a drug dealer in a car. They get pulled over, and he still wants to play gangster. And so they arrest him merely for carrying the gun and being on probation, felony probation. He could get anywhere from the range of 5 to 99 years because on deferred adjudication, often you do it 1 per 1, meaning you're going to do every day of the sentence the judge gives you, subject to parole and other things like that, or anything that can happen, appeals, asking for shock probation, throw me in a few months and then bring me out and say I've learned, I won't sin anymore. But what happens is, if you get on deferred adjudication and you're prone to mess up, which 18 to 25-year-olds are, and your sentence range is 5 to 99 years, you could serve 99 years just for violating your probation. And a lot of people don't know, when you get arrested, you're already on kind of a probation. They're called pretrial conditions. It's like innocent before proven guilty, but you're paying for an ankle monitor. You're paying the probation department just to check on you. They're already checking you to see if you're dirty. And in a lot of jurisdictions, it's not just urine that you can try to fool them with. Now they have hair follicle, and that goes back a long way. So, when I talk about the game, the prison industrial complex, it is complex. People are being incarcerated at such a mass rate. They're also doing cheap labor, making clothes, not just like in the good old days making license plate, doing a lot of stuff, call centers, doing everything else that people don't know about. And they'll say, this is a great way. We're not exploiting children from foreign countries, making clothes, and who cares about prisoners? In COVID, we saw that many prisoners died of COVID from overcrowding and conditions like that. But when you're in there and your family member's in there, it's a whole different thing. I always tell people, a hard right-winger or a liberal left-winger, how to change them into moderates, lock them in jail for a weekend. And then they'll see what it's really like. And then they'll say, wait a minute, one side wants to let everybody out, the other side wants to bury everybody under the jail. But what happens to your son, your grandson, your granddaughter, or your family member, husband, wife, it's a whole different game. And we got about a minute left, but what I want to underline here is that we incarcerate people. We're 25% of the world's prisoners and 5% of the population, as I've said before. We give sentences that are two to three times as long as other countries. Does that mean that we are 5 times the criminal element that other countries have in their population? I don't think so. I think some of this is about the prison industrial complex, and that it's a moneymaker. It's a slot machine. You ask anybody that plays in the game of law that there is no doubt that money is an issue, reimbursement's an issue, and for instance, the war on drugs, nobody wants that war to end that is making money off of it, from politicians to prison guards to people who invest in locking people up. So this is Attorney Joe Flores. I'm a federal lawyer and also here in the Southern District and with permission throughout the United States if the judges let me and I'm a good boy, and also here in Texas. So give us a call, 361-887-8670, 361-887-8670, or info, I-N-F-O, at floreslawfirm.com. Thank you, and God bless.
You've been watching South Texas Now, featuring Joe A. Flores from the Flores Law Firm. For questions and comments, please call 361-887-8670 or visit floreslawfirm.com.